This is Hospitality Huddles, brought to you by Auden Hospitality, the podcast that challenges hoteliers to think differently about F&B to create outlets that guests will love. Every episode, we will speak to the people who are embracing a different mindset to look for opportunities to stand out from the crowd, sharing tips and takeaways to help you get uncomfortable, change your outlook, and see F&B in a whole new way. So let's not wait any longer and dive straight into today's episode. Shawn, thank you very much for coming on Hospitality Huddles. I'm honestly really excited and a little bit nervous to be sitting here opposite you today as the guy who basically kicked me up the arse to start this show in the first place. So thank you very much for taking the time to come on and have a chat.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Scott. I'm a huge fan of your work, the friendship that we've built because you've been willing to be uncomfortable. I think what you've taught me about London and the UK and people in America, how we like to be loud and tell stories and use the internet. I think that everyone on earth has the opportunity now because of the technology we have to build deep communities and to build really cool businesses if we're willing to take that first step. And you've taken that first step, and hopefully anybody that's listening, they can get a little bit uncomfortable. If you're listening to this and you appreciate the work that Scott does, hopefully together we can make you uncomfortable and get you to start to tell your story, because there's people around you. You wake up every single day doing something that you love to do. And if you love to do it, you should share it with the world. That's how you and I have become friends. And I've never met you in real life, but I feel like you're a brother. So hopefully anybody that's listening to this, you can be part of the community, part of the brotherhood. Welcome.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about community later because I really think it's a huge part. And I guess for people listening to this, primarily in hotels, I think it's going to be a really interesting story, especially because I talk about it a lot. But we always open the show with the same question every time. And I've got a second version, which is just for you. But we'll start with the normal one. And it's, what does hospitality mean to you?
Every time I think of hospitality, I think of friendship. So for me, the basic definition of hospitality is kindness to a stranger. When you meet a stranger for the first time, how do you change that relationship from a stranger relationship to a friendship, to a brotherhood, to a family? And that goes from moving beyond a transaction to the lifetime value. That's what true hospitality is. And I think what we strive for and the people that we connect on the deepest level understand that at their core. It doesn't matter. My wife is from Bulgaria and she's from a village, and in Bulgaria, they're not known for their hospitality. They are people that when you meet them for the first time, you would think that they aren't warm and they aren't outwardly the same way that someone from that comes to visit San Diego. People in San Diego are very outwardly emotional, outwardly welcoming, but that doesn't mean that they don't also have hospitality. Hospitality is how do you treat somebody once you welcome them into your home, once you welcome them into your hotel, once you welcome them into your lobby, into your bar, into your restaurant. How do you make them feel? How do you listen to them? How do you anticipate their needs? How do you learn about them? How are you curious about them? How do you listen to them? And once you do those things, how do you build upon that relationship where it's not just, I want to sell you something or I want to upsell you something. I want to care about you on the deepest level so that when you leave this establishment, you're so blown away by those memorable moments that you cannot help but go tell another human, either online or in real life. I can't believe the team at Cali Barbecue, Shawn, they have an amazing team and they made me feel so welcome. They took care of my mother. They took care of my grandmother. They took care of my daughter who's in a high chair. Those are the things that matter, and those are the things that connect all of us all over the world, no matter where you are on earth.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think the digital hospitality rooms are great is a great example of that, isn't it? In terms of how people, and I've noticed it just recently actually, and you can do the shout out for the digital hospitality room, but I've just found in the last kind of 4 to 6 weeks, there's almost been a turn where everyone feels super comfortable with each other. And it just seems to be getting so vulnerable and so raw in terms of the learnings that's sharing. And that actually makes it much more powerful in terms of what the group can achieve together. And I guess that leads quite nicely into a plug for the digital hospitality room. But that whole piece there about family and friendship is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, the premise of when we started truly telling our story, when Cali Barbecue, I have barbecue restaurants in San Diego. For those that don't know, we're about to open up our third location. We've been in business for 16 years, done over $35 million in sales in a very difficult location, failed miserably in the beginning. So we've made all the mistakes, but we're still open and we're still learning and we've closed ghost kitchens. We've opened up 3 ghost kitchens during the pandemic. Those haven't been profitable. Those haven't been, what we hope them to be. But we're taking everything that we've learned in the last 4 years and putting them into this Navy location. We're opening up on the San Diego Navy base to serve the men and women that serve our country, about 20,000 of them in a food court. But in this food court, there are national brands. There are companies like Panda Express, Pizza Hut, Starbucks, Cold Stone, all these big brands. And then we're the one local brand. So everything that we've learned in the last 4 years, all of those failures, we're going to turn into successes. But on the media side, what we learned is that no one's coming. No one is coming to tell your story. And I think it's very hard to accept, because if you have a hotel, if you have a restaurant, if you have a business and you provide a service or a product, you think that if I make that product so good, they can't ignore me. People will have to know about it. It's so good they have to tell someone else, which is something that I said earlier. Yes, if I provide great hospitality and I provide great barbecue, someone will have to go tell someone else. But what I thought from a media and storytelling standpoint is the people in legacy media, the people on radio, the people on television, newspapers, magazines, the writers, the ones that are the gatekeepers of information. I thought that if I did such a good job, they would go and tell my story. And what I realized is that no one's coming. And not only is no one coming, but I have everything I need to tell my own story. And I think that's the most powerful lesson. And speaking to the digital hospitality community, when we first started our first podcast in 2017, no one was listening to my podcast, like no one. But I knew that if I put it on Apple Podcasts and I put it on Google and eventually I put it on Spotify and put it on YouTube, eventually I didn't need hundreds of thousands. I didn't need thousands of people. I just needed a couple of people like you that found me, a couple of people like Troy Hooper, who run Pepper Lunch restaurants, a couple of people like Jason Berkowitz, a couple of people like Justin Ulrich, a couple of people like Mandy Graziano. If I found those leaders who were curious people, who wanted to improve themselves, who are willing to be vulnerable, who knew they don't have all the answers, who know that it's impossible to know everything about branding. It's impossible to know everything about sales. It's impossible to know everything about operations, finance. Well, let's start asking questions of the things that people have super skills. Every single person that comes to these digital hospitality rooms on LinkedIn, they have a special skill set. That's their superpower, but they also recognize that they have weaknesses. I have a lot of weaknesses. That's why I surround myself with so many smart people. That's why I have the shows that we do. Cali Barbecue Media, we produce 6 different shows. We produce shows for clients, for big restaurant groups. We produce shows for restaurant tech companies like Toast and Restaurant 365 and Incentivio, some of the greatest restaurant technology companies. We produce those shows. My team produces those shows. But we also produce shows for Entrepreneur. I have a partnership with entrepreneur.com, and Restaurant Influencers is our big show that Toast is a sponsor of, Ovation is a sponsor of. And what do I do on those shows? I do what I wanted in college. When I went to college and I took business classes, I wanted somebody to tell me the real truth about business, not just the sexy stuff, but all the hard, difficult conversations. And I remember going to class and trying to read the textbook and trying to follow my professor. And I was like, nothing inspired me until they brought an entrepreneur who ran a local business on stage, and he started talking about the things that they went through to start their company and to get the name of their company and to find investors and to get their first hires and to raise capital and to get sued. I'm sitting there writing all these notes like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. That's what I wanted. And that's why we launched our show back in 2017. And eventually, year over year, we started to find people that were listening. They were listening because of restaurants, or they were listening because of hospitality, or they were listening because of social media marketing, or they're listening because of the branding people that we had on. And it's my job to just follow my curiosity and find people that are inspiring. And as I've done that, you know, we're able to have conversations like this. And I know there's somebody that's going to listen to this, that's going to be driving on their way to work, on the way to run their hotel in some magical place of the world. And they're going to go, there's a reason why I found Scott. There's a reason why I found Shawn. Now I'm going to come onto LinkedIn because LinkedIn's free and I can join these rooms and I can contribute. I can raise my hand. I can speak up and talk about the cool things that I'm doing wherever I am in the world. Because each person, like I'm about to go travel right now with my family to Puerto Vallarta. We're going to stay at a hotel, a resort. You know, why did we pick that resort? Because another family told us this is a beautiful resort. You should go there and you should go and visit. And then I go and I take a look at their social profile, nothing on YouTube, barely any videos on Instagram, and barely anything on TikTok. And it goes, there's a huge opportunity. Imagine how much more business this hotel could have if it already has magic in real life. They're just not telling the magic online, right?
100%. No, I totally agree with you. And yeah, I want to give a shout out to Nahil on this one as well, who comes on the digital hospitality room, because he joins in from India at probably what, I
Amazing.
don't know, it must be 10, 11 o'clock at night. He engages with everything. He shows up, he adds value when he's there. And I think that's just a great example of he's in India and he's got a skill set and he's prepared to come and be vulnerable and be uncomfortable. And he ignores it all and he comes and does it. And it's funny, he sent me a message the other day and it was like, I'm trying to get my business partner onto LinkedIn. I'm trying to get him to engage and I'm telling him it's important. And he said, I use this example of going, if I wanted to create some media, who would I go to? And his business partner said, Shawn at Cali Barbecue Media. And he said, and if you wanted hotel F&B, who would you go to? He said, Scott. So it just goes to show, doesn't it, that that turning up and showing up every day, at some point, the right person is going to be there when they need you, and you're going to be saying the right message, and it's going to resonate at that point, isn't it?
I think the biggest aha for me is understanding that people just learn differently. We all
Yeah.
learn differently, whether it's audio, video, words, images. And, you know, we talk about storytelling and not caring about the platform, just speaking your truth, learning how to document your truth, figuring out how to do long form content and turn it into short form content. And to the point of, you know, I hope that people that are listening understand any business, any hotel that's listening, you can become your own media company. You do not need a PR agency to represent your hotel, to get you into magazines that nobody reads, to get you on TV stations that nobody's watching, to get you on radio stations that no one listens to. You can be your own PR firm. You can be your own social media agency. You have all the tools that you need, but you need to have the right conversations with people like Scott, people like myself that can tell you the strategies. If I turn my restaurant into a media company, and we do deals with the biggest restaurant technology companies on earth, literally the Ubers of the world, the Toasts of the world, Restaurant 365s of the world. These are the biggest companies that have the best technology for restaurants. If we're able to do it, you that are listening are able to do it. You are able to do it. It doesn't take a lot to do, but it takes the right people in place, being able to ask for help, understanding that you probably already have what you need. And there's just simple strategies that will help you move your business forward so you can start to have these. And it's not going to happen overnight.
Yep.
It will not happen overnight. You know, when I say somebody start a podcast, I mean start a show. And the reason why we talk about podcasts is because podcast is a show. It allows you to publish every single week, no matter what. No matter what, you pick a day of the week. That is the week that you publish. That also becomes your blog. That also becomes your email. That also becomes your LinkedIn content, your YouTube content, your Instagram content, your Facebook content. But out of the 2 million podcasts currently that are on Apple Podcasts, 25% only publish one episode and then they quit because they're worried about the ROI. What's the return on investment if I start a podcast? I didn't get the clients that I wanted. I didn't get the people to come and visit my hotel. I didn't get the reservations that I wanted. We're going to quit. Too many resources. I didn't see the quickest ROI. 60% of those 2 million podcasts stop before they get to 10 episodes. 60%. because they don't know what the ROI is. This is too much work. You want me to do this every single week? Yes, every single week I want you to focus on storytelling. Long form storytelling, short form storytelling, audio, video, words, images. Absolutely. If you make it past 10 episodes and you make it part of your business, the same way every single day you check your email, you're producing content, you're telling stories on the internet, it might not be 1 year, it might not be 2 years, but I guarantee you in 3 years, in 4 years, you will look back and everyone else that is your competition will be coming to you asking you, how do you do it? Because Scott knows that he's in, what is this, 25 episodes?
Yeah, 26.
How many
26
people have reached out to you?
Oh, up to now, probably from the podcast direct, probably two.
At least.
Probably two.
Significant people.
Yeah. Two significant. Yeah, two that have gone through to them be clients. Yeah.
That would have never found you beforehand.
No.
And that's a fast return.
Yeah.
I did hundreds of episodes before I got my first brand deal. And now we work with, over 14 different brands in the hospitality tech space, restaurant group space. Like, for us, it took us a long time to do.
Yeah.
But everything that we do now is trying to reduce the learning for other people to understand, like, if you know where our restaurant's located, if you Google Cali BBQ, Spring Valley, and you pull up Google Earth and you look at the village where there's tire shops and liquor stores and houses and commercial businesses and industrial business, like, we're not in the sexy part of San Diego. There's a reason why we believe in the internet. There's a reason why we believe in storytelling.
So the special question I was going to ask you is, what does digital hospitality mean to you? And we've used the word a couple of times.
Was that just one question that you asked me?
we kind of chatted through, did we? I asked a couple more, but yeah, that was one. But so we better get a move on. But what does digital hospitality mean to you? And then I want to talk about your orange tree.
Sure. So digital hospitality, the premise, the thesis is easy. Every business needs to be digital first. So every business that conducts business in real life, brick and mortar businesses especially, we have to be digital first. We have to understand that the internet matters. All of the platforms on the internet matter. All of the attention matters. We care about 4 C's: content, commerce, communication, and community. All of those 4 C's, they all live right now in 2024, they all live on a smartphone. Where they'll live in 5 years and 10 years, who knows, but it'll still be internet storytelling. And if you don't get involved and start to understand that YouTube matters, Instagram matters, TikTok matters, Spotify matters, all of these platforms matter to you and your business. You don't need to be a huge creator. You don't need to have hundreds of thousands of followers. You don't need to be Mr. Beast to move your business forward. All you need is hundreds, maybe even 10. If you think about the 10 best companies, biggest companies in your space that you want to do business with, they're all on those platforms and no one's making content. And the content they're making is terrible. It's all commercial. They have some agencies that's making it and no one cares about it. You know it's a commercial. No one's telling real stories in your space.
Yeah, that's so true. And this story has stuck in my head ever since she's first told it on digital hospitality. But just for everyone out there, can you share the story of the orange tree outside Cali barbecue? And then, yeah, it's just a great story. I'd love you to share. And I'm sure it's going to get people thinking.
Sure. So my theory is with social media content that every single person that's listening, every person that's watching, you have your own version of an orange tree story. Now, the orange tree story and my orange tree theory comes from an actual orange tree that's planted at my restaurant at Cali Barbecue. Now, the reason why I call this the orange tree theory is that I haven't, somebody that has a media company that believes in social media, that's been doing it for 16 years, even me, I've ignored this story until recently. So this is a story that I believe deeply in, and I believe that every single person has a story that they ignore that is foundational to why they started their business, why they named their business the name of their business, why they picked their business partner, why they made their first hire, why they picked the office location of their office, why they picked where their hotel is located, why they put the pool where they put the pool. Every single person has a story like this that we just don't talk about. We take it for granted. So my challenge is to anybody that's listening, what is your orange tree story? And once you figure out what it is, how much can you go into the research of how did this orange tree story come to be for your business? So my orange tree story is back when our restaurant started, back in the late 90s. My grandfather, who's from Bulgaria, from a Bulgarian village, him and my uncle, who's also from Bulgaria, they wanted to plant an orange tree. They loved trees, they loved flowers. They planted an orange flower bush, and they built a beautiful water fountain. So next to the orange tree. So they had a garden to remind them of Bulgaria, of what the village life in Bulgaria. It was kind of an homage on the side of our restaurant. This was back in the late 90s. Fast forward to 2008. That was when my business partner and I, one of my best friends from college, Corey Robinson, him and I took over the restaurant, and it was actually that it was really cool for me. My grandfather passed away the year that we opened up the restaurant, but I was able to show him this was the new version of the restaurant. This was Cali barbecue. This is what, his grandson going to take over the restaurant and continue the legacy. We took a picture at the water fountain, me and my grandfather, at the end of his life. He passed away in 2008, but fast forward a couple years later, we turned the restaurant into a sports bar. So the sports bar was a San Diego Chargers, which now it's the Los Angeles Chargers NFL team. We had all different teams that would come, fans of different teams, big events, standing room only. Monday Night Football Chargers game. It was Chargers versus the Raiders. There was a fight that broke out in the bar between a Chargers fan and a Raiders fan. They took that fight from the front of the bar into the back of the restaurant where our fountain was. These two guys started fighting. They fought in the fountain and they crushed my grandfather's fountain, broke it into pieces. It was unrepairable. We decided to rebuild the fountain. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she's like, this fountain's important. We're going to rebuild the fountain. We rebuilt the fountain next to the orange tree. Fast forward to the pandemic. So in the pandemic, we decided to go all in, become the Amazon of barbecue, build a commissary kitchen, have these ghost kitchen locations, and we needed more smokers. So in order to build more smokers in the back patio, we decided to add more smokers, but we met with my contractor, which was Keith. We met with Howard, who was my restaurant consultant. We met with Gene, who's our barbecue pitmaster, Eric, who's my GM and business partner, and my wife. And we were all talking, well, there's a problem. If we build all these smokers, we're going to have to remove the orange tree. We're definitely going to have to remove the fountain, but we also have to remove the orange tree. So the fountain was like, I don't want to remove the fountain. I don't want to remove the orange tree. My wife goes, we will not remove the orange tree. I'm like, we have to. 5 different meetings, figuring out how are we going to bring a delivery vehicle in to load up the smokers, to drop off meat, to add, fresh cooked brisket and ribs onto the smokers. My wife said, we're not removing that orange tree. We ended up not removing the orange tree. So now if you come to Cali Barbecue, an unassuming orange tree in the front of the smokehouse is there. No sign, no story, but we have an orange tree. And that orange tree is a dedication to my grandfather. It's a dedication to my Bulgarian roots, to my Bulgarian wife. I married a Bulgarian woman that fought for that orange tree. And every single person that's listening to this has a version of that story. There's something in your business that you fought for. Some weird design in the hotel, some weird design in the lobby that you had to fight for, there was all these changes. And you think that no one cares. My point is that everyone cares about stories. And now the more that I tell the story and the better that I get at telling the story, the more people that visit San Diego and that come to see Shawn and come to hang out and do a selfie video on the roof or come and see the smokers, guess what they're going to talk about? The orange tree. Guess where we're going to take a picture? At the orange tree.
Yeah. And it just creates a beautiful legacy, doesn't it? It's an amazing story. It really does, and it really got me thinking about my orange tree story. And I really hope people sitting there now, as they were listening to that story, are kind of sitting there and racking the brains over what theirs was. Because at first, when I heard your story, I was kind of like, "What is my orange tree? I don't get it. I don't get it." And then it just clicked, and it was there. And I realized, similar to you, it had been kind of under the carpet and under the rug and not come out. And whenever I tell the story to people,
What is your orange tree
always
story? I
My
need
orange
to hear
tree
it.
story. You need to hear.
Yeah,
I
now I
must have
need to hear
told you
it.
this. I must have told you this.
I'm not.
And
It
you
was.
know,
You know what the rule is. Every time you tell it, you get better at telling it.
this is it. And you
So
know what? I'll probably.
this is for anybody that's listening. It's uncomfortable to tell the same story because you don't want to be repetitive, but you have to remember the greatest storytellers on earth. I study comedians, the Jerry Seinfelds, the Chris Rocks, the Kevin Harts, you name the comedian. By the time they have their Netflix special, they have told the joke thousands, if not tens of thousands of times. It
Yeah,
is important to repeat yourself. It is important to go deeper in the things that you believe in and to be better at telling the best stories of your life.
I'll tell you mine. And I'll get the probably the annual Sean kick up the ass because I don't talk about it enough. But so mine was when I came to set up the business, I knew I didn't want to call it after my name because I always wanted it to be something that could scale. And if it was about my name, if I wasn't involved, could it ever scale? So one of the worst jobs I ever had in hotels, and I opened 4 hotels, was when it came to naming bedrooms, meeting rooms, and all the rest of it because it's just so emotional as a process that I just didn't want to be involved. So I always kind of politely declined and left it to everyone who wanted to decide by committee. So when it came to opening my business, the whole name thing, it was kind of like I want to take the emotion out of it for me. And I handed it over to an agency I was working with who did all the design. And I was like, go away and come back with inspiration that's going to fill people with confidence, be quite like subtle, humble, understated, but kind of have this confidence about it. So they came back with some really like cheesy, obvious food and beverage kind of connotations. And the one they came back with was obviously Auden. And when I asked them what it meant, it was a boy's name, and the meaning of it is your oldest friend. When I was sitting there kind of going, I'm not following you. What does oldest friend, what's it got to do with it? And the lady just looked at me we were on Zoom and she looked at me and she went, who do you trust in the time of need? And I was like, my oldest friend. She went, your oldest friend. And it just clicked. And from that point on, there was just no way I could have any other thing. So the meaning behind Auden is who do you turn to in your time of need is usually your oldest friend.
Is
And
that
who
on
do
the
you trust?
is that wording on your website?
No, and I knew you were going to ask this. That's why I said this is the annual Sean kick up the ass, which probably the last one was
Uh,
getting on and doing video and podcasts. So I'm going to take that as
that
read.
better be on your website.
Well noted.
That better be on your website, your digital
Yeah,
business card, your Instagram,
exactly.
and that should be
Yeah,
everywhere.
I know it should, shouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the story. Yeah, that's
See,
my
that's
orange
your
tree
orange
story.
tree. It's right in
Yeah,
front of you. All the best
100%.
stories are right in front of you.
Definitely. So going on to the next, and it's back to that digital hospitality piece, is I think I was thinking about having this conversation and how it could impact hotel people and F&B leaders and things like that. And back to that whole point of everything's in your pocket with your smartphone, and your smartphone can enable what you can do. Uh, and I think the next evolution is I'm really interested in the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. I think for
Yep.
hospitality, and I remember us having a conversation about how do you get those brackets with the phones, and I think the glasses for chefs particularly could be a game
Yep.
changer. But if I go on your TikTok, I constantly get the notification saying Sean's going live, and there's the video. I think it's the original one's over 1 million. When I looked last night, it was over. I think
Yep.
it's 1.4 million. Is it?
Yep.
Is it Belinda that your pitmaster? Oh,
Bernice. Bernice.
Bernice. That's the
Yep.
Bernice. That's it. And all you do, you just went live. There's one video where Bernice is literally doing the butter and then just puts the tin foil on. So simple, so easy, so authentic. And I thought about it and thought, if there's one thing that people could do tomorrow in a hotel that
Yep.
really shows their authenticity and being genuine, it would be going live. So
Yep.
can you tell people about how that's transformed Cali Barbecue? Because I think I remember you talking about this on a show once before.
Yeah, so I'll take you back to the first time that I did TikTok live, which was on a Father's Day. It was actually a couple summers ago. My family, my wife, my kids, my son, and my daughter, they every year we as a family go to Bulgaria. This is the first summer that we haven't gone to Bulgaria, but 3 summers ago, I believe. They left early. I was staying around to get some work done at the restaurant, and it was a Father's Day. And I said, I'm going to use TikTok Live today. I'm going to go live and I'm going to just see what happens. I'm going to test. We're going to see. One of the things that we always do is just trying to find out, where there are opportunities and platforms where there's underpriced attention. Let's try to see if this is something that we should do more often. And now that I'm saying it, I have failed because I should be doing TikTok Live more often. But what happened in the 4 hours, 4.5 hours that I was live? So I got to the restaurant at 5 in the morning. Bernice was preparing, I believe, 180 racks of ribs. I think we probably had 45 whole briskets, probably the same amount of pork butts. We had tri-tips that we were cooking, full chickens that we were cooking, but this was just basically cooking for about a $20,000 day in sales. So $20,000 in sales supported by all of that barbecue. Once we sell out, we sell out. But it was 4.5 hours of me going live with Bernice, just literally as if someone was standing in the kitchen with Bernice, being an apprentice for the day. And as I went live on TikTok, I was getting hundreds of viewers, thousands of viewers. Within 4.5 hours, do you know how many people saw that TikTok live?
No.
Over 100,000 people.
And
me telling the story now, I'm like, why am I not doing TikTok
crazy.
Live more? Conditions were perfect. People were captivated. I had people from all over the world actually that were commenting, because during the TikTok Live, I was talking to them saying, let me know where in the world you're watching this TikTok Live. People were talking about the barbecue, asking questions. Like, there was always action going on. But I treated it like it was a show, like it was, anybody that knows QVC. I don't know. QVC is a TV shopping network, but that's where TikTok is going. That's where YouTube is going. That's where Facebook is going. Content, commerce, communication, community. All of these things are available on our devices. Content, commerce, communication, community. And eventually Toast, I'm wearing a Toast hat, Toast will have an integration with TikTok and YouTube where somebody sees that video of me going live with Bernice and goes, wow, I've never had California barbecue. Wow, look at, they've been cooking this brisket has been cooking for 14 hours. Shawn, I want that brisket. And they're going to be able to push the button on their phone and it's going to go, oh, Scott wants brisket delivered to London. Okay, well, this is going to, like, we're going to dry ship it. We're going to use Gold Belly or whatever integration that is, and we're going to send it over to London. Like, that's not far away. That's not crazy talk. That's completely legitimate, and we're here in 2024.
Do you know, it's funny? I was on TikTok the other day and I was watching a guy in, I think it was Shanghai, definitely China. And he ordered his Starbucks through TikTok and it was delivered by a drone into the park.
There you
and
go.
It arrived and it was perfect. So in case anyone was doubting what you were saying, it's happening and it's taking place. And I think it's just a really good example to people of that whole spontaneity and being authentic really resonates with people, let alone potential customers. And even if that one person who sees it doesn't come, if they tell a friend who might go, where's the best barbecue in town? Or I'm going to San Diego on holiday. Do you know any great places? It's that one little moment, isn't it, that we keep coming back to that might make a huge difference through that consistency of showing up every day.
I mean, I think for anybody that's listening to this that is in the hotel business, one of the biggest opportunities I see is in the concierge service. And I know that's like an outdated position, but that doesn't mean that the people that work within hotels don't know the most about the cities that they live in. Like the person that's working the front desk, the person that's checking people in, like there are so many sources of information of, like, if someone comes to San Diego and they stay in a hotel in Gaslamp, where do you think the people that know Gaslamp the best are? They're in that hotel. But the hotel hires an agency that isn't in the hotel to make a video of somebody that's an intern that's never been to the gas lamp to make a video about the gas lamp. I want the truth. I want the stories from the bellhop. That's where the real hospitality lies, but people don't have the courage to share that person's video. Interview the person that's at the door and ask them, where should I go in London? I have a family. I have a 7-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl. My wife, she loves to eat salad. Where can we go that's family friendly that we can go out to eat salads? Hey, this is the top 3 places that come to mind when you come to
Yeah.
our hotel and stay.
Mm. And it's all
Where
on a
can we
phone.
go?
It
Where can we
doesn't
go
need
for
to.
free? Where can we go and watch a good sunrise? Where can we go watch a good sunset? Those are all pieces of content that are all available. There's a funny story. We talked about it actually on our so anybody that's listening, if you can join us on LinkedIn, you can talk to Scott, you can talk to myself, you can be one of the 17 people on stage to share your story every Wednesday, every Friday. Cali BBQ Media on LinkedIn. It's 10 a.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. London time. Join us. But if you don't and you want to hear the replay, you can go to Digital Hospitality. So our Digital Hospitality feed, you just search for Rising Tide LinkedIn Live, and all of the conversations are all recorded, all published. But we had a conversation recently about my friend who's a firefighter. He's a retired firefighter, and we were talking about social media. And one of the things that he told me is, he learned about a local fire because he follows all of these firefighters and firefighter stations on Instagram. So he learned that there was a big fire in Los Angeles, and we were having this conversation as we were walking. And I go, wow, that's interesting. I'm like, who's responsible in each fire station for publishing on social media, for publishing on Instagram? And he goes, that's the public information officer, the PIO, public information officer. That is the person at the firehouse with the smartphone that is responsible for disseminating information about that fire station, any public service announcement to the community, to whoever's following that Instagram account. And that's essentially what everybody is. We're all public information officers. Every brand, every restaurant, every bar, every hotel. But why do we give away the public information officer responsibility to somebody that knows nothing about our business or our brand? You have all the public information officers you need in the walls of your hotel, in the walls of your restaurant, in the walls of your pub. They're all right there. But why does their voice not matter? It does matter, but it's up to you, the leader, to make their voice and to amplify their voice.
Yeah. That's so true. I really truly believe in that, and I think, I also think there's certain times where you get excuses of, oh, it's too busy, or the waiters are serving, and it's like, well, find those people at the right time who
Yep.
can get the content. So, that, for example, busy restaurant, hostess, perfect person in between sitting people down.
Yep.
She can get on the phone, she can do video, and I always say to people, there's nothing better than seeing a busy restaurant on Instagram if you're going to
Nothing
go to
better.
that restaurant. It's just
Absolutely.
the perfect sales tool is show that other people are in there. It's that whole like older hospitality thing of sit people by the window because it
Yep.
makes you look busy. And so I think there's a huge thing on that. And I think that there's a lot of, I talk a lot about hoteliers stuck in the way they've always done it. And the way they've always done it, as you rightly say, is outsource it to an agency who come
Yep.
in one afternoon, get a load of fake content, and then have a schedule, and maybe it's one every 3 or 4 days. It's not quick enough. The Insta stories are kind of real time and live and not show it. And I think there's a lot to be said in what you've just said in terms of getting that smartphone out, going to the bellboy and saying what's your favorite restaurant, or going around the team and doing it, going to the chefs and asking them what the favorite dish is on the menu and talk us about it, and can you just make some of the prep even just to show people. And I think it's really important for people to understand. We're coming to the end of the episode, but I want to 2 questions to finish on. This first one would be, why do you believe community is so important?
Community goes back to hospitality. It goes back to friendship. I think, the difference between an audience and community is that an audience is passive. If you have followers, great. So what? Who cares? How many followers you have on Instagram, how many connections you have on LinkedIn, none of that matters. What matters is the people that care about what you're saying. That's community. The people that will actually respond to a post, the people that will actually show up for a free mastermind or webinar or whatever you want to call it, somebody that will show up to a happy hour, somebody that will show up to a nonprofit you're trying to raise money for something that you believe in, somebody that will care when you're sick, somebody that will care when you're not there. I mean, when Dean LeBay doesn't show up, if he didn't show up on his birthday, I was genuinely, I wanted to stop our call and find out. We need to go find out what's happening with Dean LeBay. I'm going to call somebody in New Orleans. We're going to find out. Dean, where are you? Is everything okay? Because Dean shows up. And because you show up, that makes you part of a community. That makes you inspired. You know, I think about the difference between motivation and inspiration. Motivation's bullshit. Motivation's temporary. Anybody can be motivated to do something one time. When you're inspired, you're like, I can't miss it. Like, I literally can't miss it, and I can't stop thinking about it, and I'm better for it because I'm contributing. And when you start to contribute and you feel part of a community and you feel like I have to share something with these people because they get it, these are my people, this is my tribe, this is my community. Once you find that, it's so powerful. It's so powerful because there's this connection of me knowing, like, I can't wait till the next time I go to London, Scott. Like, I literally can't wait because I get to hang out with you. I get to hang out with Adam. I get to hang out with Richard. Like, you guys, like, I feel like I'll feel like the king of England. Like, literally. Like, who knows hospitality better than you three?
Mm.
And that's just the beginning. You know, forget about, you know, Phil from Toast and Chris from Tech on Toast. Like, that's only because I'm willing to talk into a microphone, make videos on LinkedIn, do things on TikTok, make things for YouTube. Well, I've connected with people that are part of my community, part of your community. I'm part of their community.
Mm.
But you don't just be part of the community, you have to contribute. You got to show up. And
Yeah.
when you show up, that's when the magic happens.
100%. And hopefully, I've been looking at Southwest Airlines to see how I can get from San Antonio to
Get
San
to San
Diego or
Diego. Make it
LA
happen.
or and see
Make it
you,
happen.
Troy and Jason, because
You make it
that'd be
happen.
so cool.
You
It was
make it
so
happen.
funny because I wrote a post on, I think it was Troy's post, saying if I could have a dinner around one table, it'd be with
Yeah.
you and Troy. And literally the same day it popped in going, we want you to speak in San Antonio. And I was like, if there's
Amazing.
ever a
There it
sign,
is. There it
that is the
is.
sign. So Southwest. Last question. So when I've been, I heard you say this actually, and you might not remember, but I heard you say it on a digital hospitality of when you're doing your podcast, you go on ChatGPT and you're typing in about to get information about your guests and do the
Yep.
research and get the things come up. So I've started doing the same thing when it came through. When you said that, I've started doing the same thing for when I have people on the show. I did one with Troy last week, and honestly, it was like nailed. I don't know him amazingly well, but I feel like I know him really well from the thing,
Yeah.
and it was like bang on. So I said to ChatGPT, what are the 5 interesting facts about Shawn Walchef and his
Oh, this is getting good.
beliefs, right? So I'll tell you the 5, and then I said to him, if you could ask one question based on the above, that could help F&B leaders in hotels, what would it be? So I'm gonna tell you the 5 first, and I'll
Okay.
tell you the question. So the
Fantastic.
first one was digital hospitality advocate. Uh, and his philosophy is rooted in the idea that restaurants and businesses should use social media, technology, and content creation to build relationships and engage with their communities. Bang on. Podcast host and storyteller. Barbecue business innovator, which barbecue in San Diego is pretty innovative
That is,
from
yeah,
what
that'll
I
work.
understand of Pitmasters. Passion for community engagement. We just touched on that 100%. And then advocate for continuous learning, which I think is something that digital hospitality is. So honestly, I think Chat GPT has got it right again. So here's a lesson for anyone who didn't know. You can start using it like
Yes.
Google now, which is so important. Now, the question that it threw out, which to be honest was one of the final questions I was going to say anyway, which was how can F&B leaders in hotels leverage digital tools and storytelling to enhance their guest experience and build a stronger connection with their local community? And then the tagline, which is just the beautiful way to end it, similar to what you've done with Cali Barbecue.
Be the show, not the commercial. That is the premise of our media company. Be the show, not the commercial. Your voice matters. Your experience matters. The stories that only you can tell, that's what matters. You do not need anyone else to do it. And the better that you get at telling your own story, then you can start to highlight the story of those around you. Your truth matters. Everyone else is doing the same bullshit. It's all the same. Go on Instagram, go on Facebook, go to emails. It's all the same. Everyone's trying to hack the system. There is no hack. The only hack is the people that win are the ones that show up every single day and try to be a little bit better every day and work on their craft. And if your craft is hospitality, if your craft is taking care of people, if your craft is tourism, if your craft is barbecue, if your craft is storytelling, whatever your craft is, talk about it. There's 8 billion people on the planet. 8 billion. Like, you can connect with anyone on earth. We are connected to people all over the globe because we're willing to look stupid, sound stupid, and then wake up every day and be a little less stupid. Tomorrow, if I'm a little bit better on a podcast, the next day, if I'm a little bit better on a video, the next day, if I'm a little bit better when I write something, the next day when I post something on LinkedIn, I tweak it a little bit. That's the only way to get better. It's the consistent, persistent pursuit of our potential. You know, stay curious, get involved, ask for help. That's the lessons my grandfather taught me. It's what I talk about on every show. It's curious people that move the world forward. I don't have all the answers. I'm just willing to ask a lot of questions. And I learned that from my grandfather, but I'm also willing to get involved. You know, I can't just nod my head and say, Shawn, Scott, this is a great episode. Like, no, you got to actually do something. And your homework is to come to LinkedIn Live. Come to Cali Barbecue Media, come to LinkedIn Live, raise your hand, come on stage. You get 60 seconds to tell us, who are you? What do you believe in? What are you building? 60 seconds. Every person that's listening should have 60 seconds. That's memorable. That's not rehearsed. That's a story. Who are you and what do you care about? Why do you wake up every day? Why do you leave your family in the morning? Why do you stay at home? Why do you work the hours that you work? And if you're not doing it, why not? Why aren't you switching? Why don't you go find something that you do love to do? Because if you love to do what you love to do, you can use your smartphone, tell the stories that are going to move your business forward and connect you to the people that are absolutely incredible. You know, we have an incredible group of digital hospitality leaders that would love to welcome you, to learn your story. But you got to do the work and you got to ask for help.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a brilliant way to finish, I think. And the stay curious bit is one that always sits with me all the time, because I just think it's a brilliant thing to think about all the time, is how to be curious. And I always look at my kids when I think of you saying be curious, because some of the questions they ask sometimes, that naivety is just a real superpower of kids. And I know that our kids are very similar age, and it's just it always gets my mind thinking, and that curiosity and that naivety always helps me to go every day and think about what I can do better to help share knowledge and give value to people that's hopefully going to come back in the end as well. So, in short, thank you very much for sparing time. Always brilliant to listen to you and chat to you. And for those people who, I know you've kind of shouted out the digital hospitality room, but if anyone wants to get hold of you or learn more, how would they do it?
Quickest way is Instagram or LinkedIn at Shawn P Walchef, ShawnPWalchef. If you want to learn about what Cali Barbecue Media does, go to betheshow.media. We launch shows for brands. So if you want to start your own show, if you're a hotel group or you work with a tourism agency and you want to start telling stories, come check us out. We can help you produce a show. And more importantly, we just want you to get involved with the community. I mean, it's free. You got to put the work in, but once you put the work in, you can get results like our friend Charlie Eblin, who's doing some magical work for Single Tree Barbecue, just got his first brand deal for his podcast. And people have been laughing at him for a couple years. And I think a lot less people are laughing at him now because he's a master at his craft.
100%. Shawn, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
Appreciate you, Scott. Thank you.
You've been listening to Hospitality Huddles, brought to you by Auden Hospitality. If you want to see how we can help you think differently for your next F&B project, then learn more by visiting our website at audenhospitality.com. If you want to revisit clips from this or previous episodes, make sure you visit our YouTube channel at Auden Hospitality. Thank you for listening to the show, and see you next time.